It's Monday, May 17, 2021. It's currently 3:03 p.m. This is speaking to what are the people of the state of California engaged in what is sexually violent criminal monitoring. That is the engagement in the criminal elements of monitoring, and doing so while it is actually exceeding that criminal purpose of monitoring with communication devices, doing so while you are engaged in surveillance, while you are engaged in corporate invasion of privacy, fully aware of the fact that the target individual is physically indisposed, engaged in a personal activity inside of a private space, while it is also invading that space with and by it I mean the state's engineered light, which I've already captured. I'll go ahead and take another picture of it, speaking to what the state is engaged in. 3:03 p.m. as I open up my podcast, Helicopter Activity Amplified Inside of the Room. At 3 p.m. on the dot, as I am physically indisposed on the toilet inside of the private space of Economy and Room 227. Helicopter activity, rumbling of the room, and ongoing plane activity that is heard inside of the bathroom. That's impossible audible activity. Okay, it's amplified for that purpose of seeking to harass and threaten while the entity is engaged in the elements of monitoring, while I'm physically indisposed, while I'm engaged in that personal activity, which by virtue of the fact that it is engaged in surveillance and in group stalking and is monitoring with communication devices, knows exactly what I'm doing. That is the sexually violent aspect. That's a sex offender. That is that which is exceeding the criminal purpose of monitoring with communication devices. This is what the people of the state of California are engaged in, and I am capturing at the same time what is the state's impossible light activity that fills the space. This is light that is, again, as I've already shown, inside of the depths of the room, which is coming through the only available space, which is the state's which is this room inside of Economy. And you have patterns on the wall, lines of light. This is the state engaging in its directed light, and understand what it does is it magnifies that light. And so you are seeing what are large lines on the wall, and that is through the magnification of light inside of the curtains onto the wall. And understand that is light that is being entered in horizontally. You see it on the wall in between the lamp above the little cabinet where the phone is, and on this, I'm talking about the east wall. And you also see there's patterns of lines. I showed this in video and I showed this in pictures. And you also see what is the light that is trailing beneath. It is adjacent to the wall cooler nearest the ground, trailing upward on, and then it continues light onto the ceiling, onto the west wall. This is the state's impossible light activity. This is that which is not occurring by any position of the sun, and this is already demonstrated. This is speaking to the sexually violent conduct that the people of the state are engaged in with the state that is also amplifying helicopter activity and plane activity, directing its light inside of this space, while the people of the state of California are monitoring and engaged in corporate invasion of privacy. They're all sitting around together, listening to me use the restroom, listening to me undress, listening to me engaged in that personal activity. That is entirely demented group conduct. These are demons engaging in the natural and criminal conduct, that which is exceeding their criminal purpose of monitoring with communication devices. This is the conduct of a sex offender. All right, this is an unprecedented level of a sexual offense, and it is ongoing. And you are also speaking to what is the ongoing criminal act of obstruction of justice. The state is engaging in this. This is the pattern, engaging in more of that criminal conduct, wanting to distract me, wanting to stop me from what it knows that I am doing. And what am I doing? I am publishing my podcast, publishing onto my website the criminal conduct that I have been publishing and documenting since 2018. I'm actively engaged in that. The state ceaselessly monitoring on the venue of the internet, monitoring on the economy and Wi-Fi. This is all going to the prosecution. They're monitoring on the venue of the internet. They're monitoring on my phone, a communication device. They are doing so through their communication devices. They are doing so in concert with the state that is directing this impossible light. That's direct evidence against the people of the state. With the state that is amplifying plane and helicopter activity, that's direct evidence against the people of the state of California. While the state is stalking directly in that manner as well, not only amplifying that activity, it is necessarily stalking in this manner, which is also direct evidence against the people of the state of California. The amplification of audible activity is state action. The ongoing stalking by the state is direct conduct by the entity itself that is monitoring. That is state action. The state is also stalking by police, fire, and ambulance, which is another method of also amplifying audible activity. That is state action. That's the state acting directly, and that is direct evidence against the people of the state of California as well. I did just capture the images inside of this room. That is the ongoing sexual violence that the people of the state of California are engaged in, and understand it is an ongoing sexual offense that the people of the state of California are engaged in. Engaging in that sexual violence, not only because for funsies, this is a sick entity, this is demonic conduct, this is that which is a psychopath that is engaging in the entire monitoring of the life of an American citizen. So, like I said, legislation has in no way addressed this adequately. This exceeds mere monitoring with communication devices. That's a sex offender wanting to engage in that sort of conduct, aware of what you're doing it at that time on purpose. That's sexually motivated. That's predatory. Okay, that's perverted, and you're doing it by the masses in concert with a government. All right, it does not get any more threatening. It doesn't get any more harassing than that, and doing it because you are actually not accomplishing your criminal purpose, which is to obstruct justice. That's the purpose, and you prosecute for that as well. But this is the defeatist mentality of this entity that has already been identified and is awaiting prosecution. Every third party group stalker documented, every third party facilitating venue acting in concert, acting as the people to be prosecuted for this ongoing sexual act. It's a sexual offense that the people are engaged in that exceeds mere monitoring with communication devices. Third party group stalkers sitting around now corporately engaged in monitoring what I'm saying. And that is the benefit, because Satan himself gets to hear the truth about itself. They get to hear about what's coming as well, in addition to monitoring with communication devices, in addition to being a sex offender of an unprecedented level. You are listening to what is the inevitable repercussions for that conduct, and that the minions get to listen to corporately as well. So that is the good thing. They hear not only what is coming, they hear the truth about themselves. And this is what is to be used as the example for federal legislation and prosecuting an entity that's engaged in such criminal conduct. It's currently 3:10 p.m. It is May 17, 2021. And I also want to be clear, as I have already shown, the documentation about the state stalking with the fake sun is already speaking to what is the system of monitoring in concert with the people of the state. The state's fake sun is also directly over this venue, not just over the parking lot. It's over the roof of the room where I am. And again, the latest video, like I said, I've already shown this, but I'm just going to go ahead and point out the evidence, which is insurmountable. You've got the fake sun that's over this parking lot. What did I capture on May 6th? Not only criminal obstruction of justice, while this entity is so deathly fearful of the fact that I was going to catch yet another video of its fake sun, yet again in another impossible location, because that's not the sun, and you have it directly over me as I'm standing at the freeway exit of the 60 freeway, which is, by the way, totally in conflict with the state's fake sun object being directly over the roof of the room at 227, not only at this time, but at 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning on the left side of the pool, which is supposed to be the quote unquote east where the sun is rising. This is where the state's fake sun is in the morning. I'm capturing it on May 6th as I'm capturing Group Stalker Amazon Prime, Group Stalker UPS, all of them just bathing in the state's fake sun. That is remaining over me as I'm standing at that freeway exit, and the state is engaging in blocking my ability to capture that video, which is direct evidence as to the allegation of monitoring. Okay, and you have it also. What did I capture when I left on May 1st? At around 10 a.m., the same time where the state was group stalking by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, by AMR Ambulance, by the Ontario Fire Department, group stalking in the parking lot, creating light activity, creating audible activity, just group stalking like the psychopaths that they are in their uniforms, the state acting directly, while the state's fake sun was directly over the roof of my room at that time. At 10 o'clock in the morning on May 1st, at around the same time, I am at what is north of this location in the room of 227, as I captured at that time while I was capturing, again, third-party group stalker Amazon Prime, engaged in that demonic act of grouping up, piling up like the demons that they are, acting in the natural, just driving Amazon vehicles, wearing Amazon uniforms, monitoring an American citizen, engaging in sexually violating and threatening and harassing an American citizen with a fake sun over an entirely impossible location to coexist with where I've already documented it. And that's just isolating it to Economy N. I've already shown at the same time all the different locations where the state's fake sun is supposedly at. And I want to be clear, it's directly over the room, as is already established at this time as well, while the state is engaging in this sexually violent conduct in concert with the people of the state. So we have established the state's pattern of conduct. The people of the state are going to be prosecuted for this, hand in hand, engaging in this satanic system, which is sexually violent conduct. All right. The people of the state of California is a sex offender. All right. An egregious one, a perverted one, and everything about that environment speaking to that. The impossible environment that exists. It is unnatural because it is deliberately designed for purposes of monitoring, and it is also what you are witnessing is an entirely demonic environment. Satanic activity is what is occurring, and it's going to be criminalized in the natural as you see the individuals engaging in that criminal system, engaging in what is demonic activity in the natural before your eyes. So I want to be clear, like I stated, you have the state's fake sun that was on that day, May 1st, as I'm leaving the room. Nowhere possibly able to be directly over the roof of the room at 227 at Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, while also over me as I'm standing at the intersection of Philadelphia and Euclid. And it is a distinct location directly over my head. That is impossible to coexist. As I cross the street, it's squarely over my head, not at a vantage point where it's over the intersection on the opposite side of the street at Philadelphia. No. It's directly over my head while I'm standing across the street at Philadelphia and Euclid at the 76, where I'm capturing third-party group stalkers wearing Amazon uniforms and in Amazon and Hertz vehicles. State's fake sun nowhere near being over the roof of the room at over 227 at Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue at the same time. Okay. In the evening, understand you're going up and down Euclid Avenue. And what did I capture on May 6th after 6 p.m.? So you've got it in the morning at the opposite end of Euclid Avenue North, not over the room, but where it's over the room at 2301 South Euclid Avenue at 10 o'clock in the morning. How was it still in that tent? It's in the same location, essentially, but not really. It's actually migrated south to be in alignment to me where I am at the freeway exit of the 60 freeway, where I'm capturing group stalker Amazon Prime again. I'm using Amazon Prime as an example because they are readily identifiable and they are providing a template for what is going to be the corporate prosecution of the people of the state. And it just so happens that Amazon Prime consistently engages in the P.O.C. It provides an excellent example, so I'm going to use it because that's documented fact. That's what happened. And you have the state's fake sun in all of these positions that are impossible to coexist. Why? Because the state is stalking with the light source. And if you have it over at that venue, at that location, where it was directly over May 1st, just days earlier, you have it at the totally opposite end of the same street, okay? Like I stated on May 6th when I stood out there capturing group stalkers, the sex offenders that were patrolling past on Euclid Avenue, past me under the state's fake sun. You have it at 10 a.m. over my head while I'm at Philadelphia and Euclid Avenue. Okay, north of on the same street, just north, like the state does. It just moves its light source. As I walk up and down Euclid Avenue, it just moves north and south up that street. As I walk up and down Hope Boulevard, what's the state doing with its fake sun? It's just patrolling up east and west down Hope Boulevard. And also, you're talking about all of the documentation that I already honed in on with the state's fake sun that already exists of record. Not only the venues as I went from place to place, but I had provided insight as to the state stalking with its fake sun as I, from essentially December 7th, 2020, all the way up until March 2021, where you are seeing what the state was doing with its fake sun day in and day out. Also impossible to coexist with this long-standing documentation of the state's fake sun location over 2301 South Euclid Avenue. This is the value of documentation. This is also adding to what is the direct evidence against the people of the state. And while the state is amplifying helicopter activity and plane activity and rumbling the building while I'm inside of the bathroom physically indisposed, engaged in that personal activity, while the state is aiming directed light inside of the venue, maintaining constructive presence, and the state also wants to, as I've also been documenting, isolating it to the third-party commercial actor spectrum, engaging in monitoring, getting in on the P.O.C. It's a sex offender engaged in all of that criminal conduct as well, facilitating all of that criminal conduct as well under all the same hallmarks and elements, facts remaining. That's P.O.C. And that's what the people of the state of California are engaged in. And that's what the minions are doing. And that's what they were doing on May 6th. And this is what you're looking at, the state's fake sun. So it's over the roof of the building right now. While all of that is occurring, the people of the state of California are going to be prosecuted for that. The people of the state of California, by definition, are sex offenders. And that's not based on federal law, which shall be created and enforced against them. description and definition of what the conduct that the people of the state of California are engaged in concert with the government, that is sexually violent conduct. That's perverted. It is sexually motivated. That is predatory conduct. They are sex offenders. What we don't have is legislation to squarely address that, and that's where I come in, okay? So this is speaking to a direct documentation of that. Like I said, it already exists. I'm just going ahead because all of this is connected. It's an ongoing crime, and it is going to what is ongoing monitoring and criminal obstruction of justice while doing so. It's 3:18 p.m., and that is the P.O.C. And this is ceaseless, continuous conduct, all the ways in which I'm documenting the people of the state of California are engaged in ceaseless monitoring, and all the ways in which they are engaged in what is criminal obstruction of justice, and what is an ongoing sexual offense that the people of the state of California are engaged in. And this is an unprecedented level of a sexual offense that is being perpetrated by a government in concert with the people of the state who are in the shoes of the government. That is speaking to a very ferocious federal prosecution for such a violation. That is P.O.C. These are minions patrolling in front of my room while the helicopter is circling above. It's Economy Inn. It's 9:45 p.m. Helicopter has repeatedly been circling audibly, that is, for the past 3 minutes. Minions are going to be seen on camera, on the surveillance cameras, patrolling in front of my door. Heavy-set Latina with black tights on, carrying in a bag, a gray sweatshirt, with a cream sweater on, with a little child with her. It's a boy. He's skipping. The state is creating sensational activity with that little minion child, intentionally crossing path with its parent. They're patrolling. The state is flying over by helicopter at Economy Inn. All right, this is the context of what they do on a 24-hour basis. The helicopter activity is while they are monitoring what I'm uploading to my Google G Drive. That little boy you'll see running, that was past my room and into the parking lot, he's got on red shorts and a striped shirt. His mother is walking in the parking lot. She has a humongous shadow that spanned across the parking lot. That's how I know she was walking underneath me right now when she's on the sidewalk. And her shadow, besides the fact that she's huge herself, she has a tall shadow that spanned past the cars from where she's walking on the sidewalk, and her child's in the middle of the parking lot walking. That's the state's directed light that she is walking in while she is intentionally patrolling with her little minion child, engaging in criminal conduct while the state is flying over by helicopter. This heavy-set Latina female is going to be seen now walking across the parking lot. She's walking toward 5SBV469. Her little minion child is running toward the same car. Again, that's license plate 5SBV469. She's monitoring with the state that is flying over repeatedly by helicopter, monitoring on the venue of the internet with the communication devices, all right? And doing so while I'm on Economy and Wi-Fi, all right? So this is relevant to existing federal legislation. That was helicopter activity as I was uploading my files regarding civil case 1930644. Regarding Judge Plotkin, Barry Plotkin, the theft of my car by the state on October 2nd, and the criminal obstruction of justice, harassment, and monitoring, federal group stalking and monitoring at that venue, being the San Bernardino courthouse, on that date as I documented it. And those are the same criminals, the Ontario Police Department briefly sounding sirens as well, following the helicopter activity that I just captured. This is direct evidence against the third-party group Stalker, representing the people. I just identified one of them at this venue who are engaged in ceaseless corporate invasion of privacy, monitoring, and engaging in ceaseless harassment and threatening conduct in concert with that entity that was, as I just captured, patrolling by helicopter, monitoring me on the venue of the internet. I'm logged onto economy Wi-Fi, monitoring what I am uploading to my Google Drive. This is when the state begins audibly sounding helicopter activity. And as the same psychopath is monitoring, sounds sirens pursuant to that ongoing creation of audible activity while it is monitoring, listening to every word that I utter about that which is its ultimate destruction, which is going to come on the world stage when I prosecute them. And Ontario Police Department, they will be going to federal prison. Okay, they have been engaged in kidnapping. They have demonstrated the government's engagement in egregious level of criminal conduct that they thought to obviate and avoid by kidnapping on multiple occasions, engaging and facilitating sexual violence while I am kidnapped by the Ontario Police Department, handed over to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, engaging in ongoing monitoring the entire way, theft of my property through and through. That is the agency that's sounding sirens right now, providing ongoing direct evidence against people of the state who will also suffer federal prosecution for that corporate group crime. That is ongoing. And like I stated, just to be clear, in case I did not capture this on audio, this is stemming from what I just captured, the state sounding helicopter activity circling over while this minion outside with her minor child is patrolling in front of my door. Okay. And I've described them as she's walking past my door. Then they go down. Understand this is patrolling. As she walks past my door with her little minionite child who is creating audible activity, and the state is creating sensational activity as that child is intentionally used to not only create audible activity, but also create what is the guise under which the state is creating sensational activity. But a child jumping up and down, anyone walking back and forth is not creating vibration of the bed, of the ground, no sort of earthquake. This is the state engaging in concerted conduct. This is an adult engaging in criminal obstruction, monitoring what I'm doing on the internet, engaging in criminal harassment. This is the people of the state. She's just acting through this overweight minion that I just documented, and I recited her license plate, okay? The people of the state are acting through her conduct. I'm just looking at her face. This is the people acting in concert with the state. That again sounded sirens. That is sounding helicopter activity into my room while I am on the venue of the internet, economy and Wi-Fi. This is the venue of the internet. This is monitoring on my communication devices, on my phone, on my laptop. All right. And doing so in concert with the people of the state who are monitoring with their communication devices, their cell phones. All right. Surrounding with their laptops, all manner of monitoring conduct underway. And I want to be clear what I stated. I want to make sure that I actually recorded this. The fact that this is ongoing criminal conduct and it dates back, we're speaking to relevant to what I was uploading on the G drive when the state started going psycho, like it is. The state is a psychopath, as I've demonstrated. You're known by your conduct. The conduct reveals a psychopath, all right? A very demonically disturbed psychopath that was circling above my room in helicopter. All right. And circles above me everywhere I go, as I've shown. OK, so that is a very apt observation and a reasonable conclusion. That's a psychopath. And this is demonic activity. So you're seeing what is the outward, the secular reference for what is a psychopath. That's Satan. OK, operating over the government, flying over me, obsessed with what I am doing because I am not Team Satan and I out all of Satan's secrets and his minions. So you have what is the state sounding helicopter activity as I'm uploading the information regarding Judge Barry Plotkin. He's a criminal. He was monitoring me on October 16, 2019, as I was at the San Bernardino County Courthouse. As I have also documented the state's fake sun over my head at that courthouse in San Bernardino, the state flying over my head in helicopter and airplanes at San Bernardino. I have captured this in video. I've already published it. Okay. And I also captured their criminal conduct in that courtroom. Both Judge Barry Plotkin on October 16th, as he was monitoring me and harassing me and engaged in criminal obstruction of justice, as he represents the state, the same entity that stole my car, the same entity that stalked me in a helicopter, that's engaging in terroristic style group stalking and monitoring while I am documenting the criminal conduct. And on the date that the state stole my car on October 2nd, as I've already demonstrated, 13 videos where the state was following me from the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library all the way back to where my car was safely parked, legally parked at 714 North Vine Avenue. This is October 2nd. All right. And this was that which I documented. This is what Barry L. Plotkin was engaged in. And the documentation that I am uploading to my G drive concerns that information, that documentation. And the state is sounding helicopter activity over my hotel room. At the same time, I am on the venue of the internet. So this is, understand, pursuant to ongoing stalking, and it is pursuant to monitoring with communication devices, creating that audible activity. All right. It is also a threat and harassing conduct. This is the state doing so directly. The state does so indirectly as SoCal Edison disrupts the electrical power so that my laptop closes off. All right. The state does so indirectly when Spectrum is interrupting the ability to watch television, which is also activity creation, and it is also harassment and threatening conduct. All right. The state does so indirectly as the third party group stalkers who I am telling you their criminal conduct as it's in action, while her humongous shadow, not because she's fat, but because the directed light that the state is aiming is showing her shadow projected well beyond the car. She's on the sidewalk, and I saw her shadow as she was walking underneath me on the sidewalk. She's walking on the sidewalk after walking down the stairs nearest my room. So that means she was walking west on the sidewalk on the first floor. And I saw her shadow, which was spanning across to the back of the cars. If you in this parking lot, the cars face the doors of the rooms. And so her shadow was as tall as those cars as she is walking on the sidewalk. And her shadow is casting opposite of the way that light is being directed. And that is very powerful light. That's the state's directed light that's being aimed in multiple directions as she is walking. After walking past me on the second floor, past my room, she's crossing paths. She walks downstairs. She's crossing path again. She walks downstairs, continuing after she goes down the stairs. She's patrolling back and forth. And then she walks to her car after passing it by. All she's doing is walking in a zigzag back and forth and back and forth. She's patrolling while the state is flying over, patrolling by helicopter and amplifying that audible activity while directed light is in the environment, which I've already shown. The state is directing light inside of my room right now, 24 hours a day. The state is directing light all over this property. Okay. So this is monitoring. I'm just describing it to you. I've already established that. This is ongoing documentation of the people of the state, documentation of a specific actor that the people of the state are acting in concert with, engaging in harassment and engaging in monitoring, engaging in threatening conduct, acting with that state that's sounding sirens, that's amplified inside of my room as I am reciting P.O.C. That's the people of the state threatening. That's the people of the state harassing. That's the people of the state monitoring, and doing so in concert with that entity that is has a serious issue and a serious legal issue as I continue to document them doing that conduct. That's P.O.C. at Economy Inn, 2301 South Euclid Avenue. Again, May 17, 2021. It's 9:58 p.m. It is still Monday, May 17, 2021. It's 11:06 p.m. This is just referencing. Oh, and let me be clear on the state's activity. Sounding sirens right now as I am going from applications on my phone. That is the state amplifying sirens. That's audible activity while it's monitoring what I'm doing on the internet, on the venue of the internet, on my communication device, monitoring with the people of the state. Okay, so that's relevant to the laws that they're breaking. It's 11:07 p.m. What I just took pictures of is in reference to, as I have shown, the ongoing activity creation pursuant to federal group stalking and monitoring that I remain subject to at this venue of Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, on the venue of the internet, while also criminal obstruction of justice is also the dual criminal purpose. And I took pictures of that. It's monitoring on the venue of the internet. And I took pictures of, this is the significance of it. It's a podcast that has already been published. Okay. The podcast has already been published. And the way that the interface of the website looks. So when you are looking at your podcast, it shows the audio that you're able to easily edit, review, rearrange on the website. The state is monitoring. Not only slowing down the Wi-Fi so that the page doesn't even generate, just staggering the internet. And this is also when I get onto my own hotspot using my phone. So I took a picture of that showing that I'm on my hotspot, which is just significant, showing that I'm on the internet. I am on a communication device, and what you're looking at is monitoring conduct. And so I'm showing pictures of what is the prolonged loading. It's just loading and nothing is happening. I just went on ahead, took a picture of that. And I took a picture of what is the rearrangement, the altering of the internet site. So it's just wiping out the page so you can't see anything else in order to obstruct my ability to edit the audio that I just added about the state that was flying around, which you heard on my podcast. All right, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to have that published for my own thorough note-taking purposes. It's already published on my podcast. I'm going through and being thorough, showing you how the people of the state are monitoring on the venue of the internet. Okay, that's P.O.C. and that's monitoring conduct as well. That's another example of what is monitoring. This is not internet failure. None of this is any result of any failure. This is monitoring that a government is up to and doing it through the people of the state in all the ways in which I have shown. I am literally revealing how the entity monitors using even objects inside of your own home. Okay, the television, the cable, the internet operated television, a means of monitoring by the state. The people of the state using their capacity, providing the electricity, providing your internet, providing your whatever services you have in order to maintain absolute control over that environment for purposes of monitoring you. And this is what that is showing. And that's what I took pictures of. It's 11:09 p.m. That is plain activity. And what is a third-party group stalker? Sounding a car alarm, which is ongoing added activity. But I want to be clear, the state literally manufactures the sound of car alarms. So you're talking about the entity creating activity that was plain activity, and you hear what is supposed to sound like a car beeping, like a car alarm horn honking. The state not only engages in literally just playing a tape of that sort of noise, because you're supposed to assume that this is what is going on around you. The state is maintaining activity. And sometimes it is very often the very group stalkers that are using their vehicles as a means of creating activity. And it is also the entity itself, which is literally just surrounding with activity, playing a tape of different types of noises. And the method of is playing and I call it a tape because it's to illustrate what the state is doing. This is a psychopath just literally maintaining a soundtrack around not only inside of the space where you're at, but maintaining it through the very people that surround you in relevant position. And the group stalkers, they are that obsessive stalking psychopath that is acting through the multiplicity of faces, literally engaging in that type of hovering conduct. So they are very much engaged in that level of stalking and keeping up that noise. So it's not the state. I have shown that stalking conduct, that psychopath is very much alive in these demon-possessed group stalkers, the people of the state that I am documenting. Okay, so they're not in any way removed because the state has the capability to play the tape of the sound of anything that it wants to. The people of the state of California, this is a demonic system. This demonic impression is active over these people, and whether you want to accept that or whether you understand that it is for purposes of that federal prosecution, there is an ongoing, incessant, obsessive pursuit of maintenance of our audible activity, and the people of the state engaged in that vigorous endeavor to that end. They are just as hovering, just as obsessive, just as paranoid in that level of stalking and maintenance of group presence together as one. And this is personified by the entity itself. It is irrespective of your identity. You're talking about a psychopath that does not want that fact to be known. So conducting itself outwardly, but understand, I have literally stripped the entity of its mask, if you will. I literally tore apart. I burned up the veil. There is no guise. There is no veil. They are blatantly engaging in criminal conduct. And literally, you're talking about, like I described yesterday, when I'm describing the criminal conduct of Spectrum acting on behalf of the people inside of this private space, you're talking about none other than a determined loser. Okay, have already lost the battle, just engaging in ongoing determination to that end, to lose, I don't know, to save face amongst itself, because it's not saving face as far as the prosecution. This is something that was never, ever supposed to be revealed. That boat has so long sailed. Not only has it sailed, I blew it up in the middle of the river. Okay, it is done, and they are engaging in blatant criminal conduct. There is nothing whatsoever that they have in order to hide. There is no normal conduct. The state's pattern of conduct is established. Everything that they are doing is occurring under that pretext. So what you are looking at is you're looking at a psychopath. You're looking at a psychopath over and over and over again that is engaging in the pattern of conduct and has lost its mask of normalcy, because this is how the people of the state sought to conduct this system. Everything's normal. We're just going about. The target individual is the one that's crazy. The target individual is the one that's paranoid. The target individual is the one that's hallucinating and making up stuff. No. These are psychopaths. All right. And that's what a psychopath does, by the way, points its finger at you and calls you crazy when it is the one that is out of its nitpicking mind, literally out of its mind. And that's shown by the P.O.C. Okay. It's 11:13 p.m. That was plain activity. And by the way, like I was stating, I just took pictures of what is monitoring on my laptop. That's a communication device on the venue of the internet. That's interstate commerce, and doing it so in concert with the people of the state. That's P.O.C. It's plain activity, 11:25 p.m. monitoring while I'm on my Anchor podcast website. It is the ongoing monitoring conduct and trying to obstruct the ability to get on and see the full page. So it's generating. So all the state is doing is literally just interrupting the ability for the page to generate, and that they're just interrupting the literal internet access to see the page. That's all. It's the same thing that Spectrum is doing. They're just interrupting the picture, interrupting the audio, maintaining absolute control over its operation. And as I went, for example, I'm in Samsung Internet on the Samsung Internet app on my Samsung Galaxy A12, and I am logged onto the economy. I'm sorry, I'm logged onto my actual mobile Wi-Fi on the T-Mobile network. Let's remember that part as well. And as I switch from desktop mode to mobile mode, and this is just the way in which the page generates. This is when the state flies over by plane. So I've changed an aspect of the phone, and this is to maintain that ongoing control of my phone, my internet access, and this is why the plane flies over. Okay, this is monitoring, and the minions that are surrounding, they're literally cockroaches. They're just crawling all around outside. They're in relevant position in their rooms. They're patrolling on the 60 freeway. They're patrolling on Euclid Avenue, and they're all monitoring together. Okay, it's 11:27 p.m. Okay, so I just want to be clear. The pop-up pursuant to the ongoing interruption of, you can think of it as the internet connection as a steady line, just like a stream, a line, and just placing your finger on that line in order to stop the flow of that line. That's all the state is doing. That's just to give you an image. That's what the state is doing. And as it continues to do that, I refresh the page, or I change the site from mobile site to desktop site to change the way it generates, and the state maintains audible activity. This is the monitoring conduct. This is engagement in the elements of monitoring, and it's doing on my communication device. It's doing on the venue of the internet. It is for the criminal purpose of obstruction of justice as well as monitoring. Okay, so this is the entity. This is the psychopath. This is the sex offender. This is the stalker that is engaging in ongoing conduct to try to stop your ability to publish evidence of its violation of you and all the ways in which it's violating you. And then you've got the sex offender that's trying to stop you from reporting them to the authorities, if you can picture that in your mind. Okay, that's the sex offender that is engaged in stalking and monitoring. All right, and all manner of stalking. This is the threat that the people of the state of California are engaged in making on a constant basis with the state. I just want to be clear, the pop-up that's showing up, it says this page has become unresponsive. This is the state placing its finger on that line. It's just repeatedly placing the finger on the line of the internet. Okay, that's all the state is doing, blocking the ability for the page to generate. And then it halfway generates. And then the buttons on the page, if I select it, they're non-responsive. All right, so the page is just deadened, and that's just the state interrupting the access on the page, the internet, the generation of the page, the operation of the page on the internet website. Again, I'm in the Samsung app on my phone. So the state does this so often, and I'm very familiar with it. And when you're subject to monitoring, it's not an error. This is the monitoring conduct. This is what monitoring is. It is 11:30 p.m. and that's relevant to 18 U.S.C. section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. Okay. And this is also relevant to the threat that the entity that is monitoring is waging. Okay, doing so because it's the government that's doing it. That's entirely threatening. That's unlawful under federal stalking statute. Doing so through the people of the state. That's an unprecedented level of threatening conduct as well. Intended to intimidate, intended to threaten, doing it in that regard, in that manner, which is unprecedented alone. That is an unlawful threat under the federal stalking statute. And then everything else that I have laid out with regard to the criminal tactics that the entity engages in relevant to those laws which shall be enforced against the entity. It's 11:31 p.m. and that is P.O.C. at Economy N. This is where the group stalkers are present in relevant position, and they are monitoring on the venue of the internet. So this is the intersection of those federal laws that they are violating constantly. Okay, that's P.O.C.